Hello, my name is Douglas Bloch. I'm an author and depression survivor. Welcome to your Depression Recovery channel, where each week we talk about practical tools and coping strategies for healing from depression and anxiety. The title of today's video is Divorce and Depression, a Case Study. And what I've done is I've invited one of my group members, named Laura, to talk about how divorce affected her, led to her depression, and how she basically came out of it. And the reason I'm doing this video now is I just posted a video called The Number One Cause of Depression, and my analysis is it has to do with a broken heart coming from breakups, divorce, separations, etc. And so I want to have a real live person talk about their experience to kind of bolster what I talked about earlier. So welcome, Laura.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
So how long were you married?
We were married 17 years. We were together 20, married 17.
And when did you first notice that things were maybe, going south or having problems in the marriage?
I would say around 2012 when my husband retired and I was not retired, and I noticed we were going separate ways, and I was in a very stressful job, and we were just basically going our separate ways.
And then over time, I think things got a little bit more difficult, more estrangement happened. You felt more disconnected from him, is that correct?
Yes, over time, going into 2013, 14, for the next couple of years, more somewhat estranged from each other emotionally, and just doing different activities, not with each other, going separate ways.
This often happens, couples get estranged over time. It happens very slowly, and before you know it, wow, we've got a gulf between us. Were there other stressors happening in your life during this time?
Yes, my mother passed away in 2014, late 2014, and I was her basic prime caregiver for a couple of years before that, and that was a great stressor.
Any other stressors, or was that the primary one?
Well, previous to that, I would say a good 10 years previous to that, starting in 2007, my brother passed away. I was his caregiver. He died of cancer. My father passed away in 2007. Okay. Yes.
So you had a lot of loss.
Yes, a lot of loss.
Yeah. So you were kind of set up for being really vulnerable to loss.
Yes.
And as a result of this, I know you had depression as a child. Actually, as a teenager, it started.
Yes.
And the depression got worse with the the distance between you and your husband, leading to, I believe, you went to the hospital at some point.
Yes, I did. It was August of 2015. I checked into Providence. I was suicidal. My husband took me there. I was there overnight, or a couple nights, and then I went through their outpatient treatment program for 2 weeks, IOP for 2 weeks.
Right, and that helped.
And that helped a lot. And then I was put on medication, on antidepressants. Excellent.
But that didn't solve the marriage problems. You were feeling better, and at some point, I think your husband came up to you and said, "I think it's time for us to go separate ways." Is that correct?
Yes. And so I moved out of the house in early 2016, January 2016.
Now, how come he didn't move out?
He decided he wanted to stay in the house, and he was willing to keep up on the mortgage and remain in the house, and I was agreeable to that.
But that was a big loss, not just losing your connection with your husband, but your home.
The home.
Leaving a home is a very stressful thing.
Yes, right.
So then you had to find a place to live.
Yes, I found an apartment, and I've been there since.
Right. So as a result of all these stressors and the breakup, you then plummeted into a pretty bad depression.
Yes, that's correct.
Which lasted, I think, about a year, and you tell me about it. You were really struggling, weren't you?
I was really struggling. So, so from August 2015 through this past winter, 2017, I was struggling a great deal with the depression, and it was very difficult being separated from him and living alone.
You were missing him. You were missing your dog, I think, who was living there, right?
Well, the dog passed away in 2007 as well.
Okay.
So,
oh, well. I thought there was an animal living there, but maybe I was thinking of somebody else.
No.
But leaving the home and being away from him and being by yourself
and living alone was very difficult.
Because you're a social person. We know that from the group, and I think it's natural for people to live alone. We evolved in tribes as human beings, and I think, some people like it, but I think the majority of us would rather be with other people.
Yes, of course.
So during this time, were you longing to get back together or be connected to somebody? That must have just, that loneliness and sense of, lack of connection must have just made the depression a lot worse.
Yes, absolutely. The loneliness was really tough, and I didn't have a desire or any false illusion that we would get back together, but I was still feeling the loneliness and isolation, and it was, yeah, very difficult. There's a huge void because I was
Right.
with this person for so many years, and that person's not there anymore.
So what were the coping strategies you used to get yourself through this period until you entered recovery, which we'll talk about in a minute? But were you exercising? Were you trying to socialize? How was your diet and sleep? What were you doing to at least keep yourself afloat so you wouldn't, go back in the hospital?
Well, exercise was very, very crucial and vital and important to me, and it helped immensely and still does with depression. So exercise, yeah, getting good sleep, good diet, socializing, all those factors really helped a lot. And I would say especially exercise helped me and still helps me immensely.
Right. But you're still pretty depressed, and then in the spring of this year, you start to come out of it. And how did that happen?
Well, I found your group, the support group, and that was a godsend, I would say, absolutely. Being with a group of people with the same issues as mine, and sharing our stories, and not feeling so alone or isolated, and then checking in with my partner once a week. You assign us to a partner every week. That just helped me immensely. That I felt less alone, less isolated. That helped me a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
So the loss of connection is what sent you into the depression, and getting reconnected brought you out.
Yes.
Which
yes.
is, the whole thesis of my way of helping people with depression, as well as the things like exercise you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So now, when you come to group every week on a 1 to 10 scale, you rate yourself above a 5, right? You're actually feeling better than worse most of the time, right?
Yes.
So in a way, I think I would almost say you've now in remission from the depression. Would you agree?
I agree. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's great, and I wanted you to perhaps share with others out there who may be in the middle of a loss, whether it's a depression or a loss of a parent or a child or, even a pet. First of all, what did you learn from the experience? I mean, how Nietzsche said, "What doesn't kill me makes me stronger." Mm-hmm. Would you say you've gained something out of this travail and coming out the other end? Many people do when they go through a tough period.
Mm-hmm. I would say the importance of reaching out to others, though I did it kicking and screaming sometimes, so I joined some meetup groups, and it was very scary to join these groups, but I did it. I somewhat forced myself sometimes, and then I really started enjoying the meetup groups, and then that helped me a lot, and of course this group, your group, I say reaching out, socializing, even if you don't feel like it. Like I said, I had to force myself sometimes, but I always felt happier and better being with people and connecting with people.
Right, and now you're the queen of meetups, right?
I am.
Every week Laura comes to the group and says, all right, let me see, on Monday I went to meetups for divorced people, on Tuesday I went to meetups for horseback riders, Thursday for runners, Friday, not that many, but I'm exaggerating a little bit, not too much, but you are having a very active social life right now.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I hear at some point you now want to buy a house maybe, and hopefully have a roommate and start living with people again.
Yes, that's a goal.
That would be really good.
Yes, absolutely.
And maybe even one time at some point down the line, even connect with another person in a primary relationship.
Yes, I can see that happening. Right. I'm open to that.
So now I'll get back to my previous question. What advice would you give people, or encouragement would you give people who are in the dark night of the soul because they've lost somebody or someone or something they've loved, and they're wondering, am I ever going to get out of this? Can love spring eternal? What would you say to them? Well,
I would say absolutely. I mean, there are resources out there. I would say reach out, and if you need medication, of course, get on your medication and get some exercise. Join a support group, whatever works for you. What works for me may not work for you, but there are so many support groups and meetup groups out there. Professionals, you may need a therapist one-on-one.
Right, I was going to mention that. Therapy can be really helpful. Did you have a therapist during this time?
I did not. No, I didn't.
You made it without a therapist. Congratulations.
Usually I take that back. I had it for very short term, yes,
okay.
for about a couple of months, yes.
Okay.
I did, yeah.
All right. So I guess one of the final morals of the story is when you notice, if you're in a marriage or relationship and you notice things are kind of moving apart, maybe act on it sooner than later, unless they get to the point where it's the point of no return. But I always think an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yes.
So you guys out there who are in relationships, realize how valuable they are, and try to repair ruptures, before they get too bad, because I do believe that we are meant to be together, and that's really the joy of living, is to love and to be loved.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Douglas.
I hope that your story of separation and recovery helps other people. I'm so
hope
glad.
so.
When you came to the group, you were a complete mess. We had to. No, you weren't. But anyway, you were struggling when you came to the group, and of course, you're doing so much better now. So it just shows once again that there is life after depression, and
Absolutely.
hopefully you'll be able to maintain your recovery for many years to come.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
This has been Douglas Bloch. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. Otherwise, you can leave comments in the comments section for me, or email me, douglasbloch@gmail.com. If you want to learn more about my work, you can do so during the closing credits. If you click on my photo, you'll be taken to the subscribe page for this channel. I hope you do subscribe. If you click on my book, Healing from Depression, you'll be taken to my website, healingfromdepression.com. And if you click on the videos, you'll watch them. And until we meet again, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. Thank you.